All the Things You Are is one of those great jazz standards that you can do something new with every time you play it. In this lesson, I'm going to break down that statement and show you exactly what I mean by that. Hey everybody, this is Jamie Holroyd helping you learn jazz guitar. Welcome to the channel. In today's lesson, I'm going to be taking Jerome Kern's classic tune, All the Things You Are, and showing you 3 different approaches that go from beginner to intermediate to pro. Each example demonstrates a different way of applying this song. We're going from the typical chord melody approach, we're looking at some reharmonizations, and then more of a modern approach on the first 8 bars of this tune. I've only used the first 8 bars because this tune is quite symmetrical in nature, meaning that the second set of 8 bars is the same as the first, it just transposes key, and then the C section is very similar to the start of the song as well. So if you like any of these concepts, you can take them to later parts of the standard. Just before we begin, I'd like to tell you about a free beginner jazz guitar course that I have. This is a 62-page PDF, which is a detailed guide on how to get started with jazz guitar. If you want to get your free copy of that, then please visit the link below. Let's get on with the lesson. The first approach we're going to take here is to use drop 2 chords to harmonise each note of the melody. The melody to All the Things You Are uses the thirds of the chord, so we can actually use a lot of the same voicings here. While this is not exactly how you might want to deliver the melody in a performance scenario, it's a really great initial step because you're forming a basic shell that you can then build up on, and that's what we're going to do in level 2. We're going to be taking these voicings and tweaking them slightly to make them sound a little bit more juicy. So here's an example of just using drop 2 chords to harmonise the first 8 bars of All the Things You Are. I have added some slight rhythmic implications here just to make it sound a little bit less predictable and to avoid the standard lead sheet rhythms, but other than that you should still be able to tell that this is All the Things You Are. So you can now play a block chord melody of All the Things You Are. Let's try and make some of these voicings more juicy. For example, in the first bar, rather than just play a straight up F minor 7, we're now going to play an F minor 7 with a flat 13. The melody note is still the same, but we're just creating more interest within the voicing. In bar number 3, you'll be able to hear that we've added some descending bass motion. For example, a standard lead sheet to this song would suggest that you just play an E flat 7 and the note G 4 times. As jazz guitar players, we need to make this more interesting. So what I've done is added a descending bass line which eventually resolves to the third of the A flat major 7 chord. The melody's still there, but we're just creating interest and movement within the voicing itself. Whilst we are on the subject of lead sheets, I should also point out that I have changed things up in bar number 8. A lead sheet to this song would suggest that you just play C major 7 for 2 bars at that point, but rather than do that, I've just added some passing chords. I've got a C major 7, a D minor 7, a D sharp diminished 7, and an E minor 7. Why does that work? Well, all these chords really just come from the key of C major. There's a passing diminished chord there, but it really doesn't get in anybody's way. And of course, the chord which you ultimately end up on is E minor 7, which is a secondary relative minor in the key of C anyway. So you're just creating motion there. Some of these changes will work with a band, but there'll be others that you need to communicate in advance. It really is just trial and error, but ultimately all these will work just fine as solo arrangements. If you would like tab or notation for any of these examples, then please visit my Patreon page, which is linked and listed below. The third level is almost completely different from the first 2. I've almost entirely dropped the chord melody approach and opted for single lines instead. This approach was influenced by the great jazz guitar player John Scofield. In an interview, John once said that his solo playing was more influenced by players such as Sonny Rollins than, say, Joe Pass. Sonny Rollins is a saxophonist and you can't play chords on a saxophone, so Because of that, that forces saxophonists to think more about melodic variations and counter melodies, and that's what I've tried to reflect here, so I think that this is a really interesting approach that you can take. Which of these 3 approaches to All the Things You Are do you like the most? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd also love to know how you approach this song. Do you like the typical chord melody arrangement, or do you like the level 3 arrangement the most? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you'd like more lessons like this, then please don't forget to hit the like button, and if you aren't already, then please subscribe to this channel.